Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and today we are doing the 100 Experts video for Gameweek 31. The video that we do every single game week where we ask 100 experts of FPL what they're up to this week in terms of FPL. Are they using any chips? What transfers are they making? Who are they going to captain this week? To try and find out some trends to hopefully identify the best moves of the week, according to experts, including captaincy and this, that, and the other. Guys, it's pretty interesting today. There are some really nice patterns emerging, but also we're seeing a lot of people trying to be a little bit different. So we've got some differential shouts in this video as well. So could be kind of interesting. I know people are chasing mini leagues and stuff like that. So I think you guys are going to find this video really useful. I certainly found this useful, and this is going to help me make my own FPL decisions. So hopefully it helps you guys too. So if you do enjoy this video, please do leave a like. Massively helps out the channel. And of course, subscribe if you want more FPL content on your screens every single day. But without further ado, guys, let's meet the 100 experts that helped out this week. So here they are in all of their glory, the 100 names of the 100 FPL experts, content creators, pundits, whatever you want to call them, bloggers, podders, whatever. They are on screen right now. So thank you guys, everyone who helped me out this week. We've got some different names in this week, try to mix it up a little bit and get some different names in there. But yeah, all of these people are really, really invested in their fantasy football. And hopefully, if we just pull all of their data, we're going to find some really, really nice trends. And that's exactly what we've done today. So in general, here are the general trends, I suppose. So 43% of our 100 managers are making just one transfer, 30% are making two transfers, 12% are making 3 or more transfers. So that's quite a lot of transfers, yeah. And 10% are not making a transfer, and just 5% are using the wildcard as well. So those of you guys thinking, is it a week where you could use your wildcard? Well, 5% of our FPL experts seem to think it is a good week to use their wildcard. So there you go, make of that what you will. But what we can see as a trend here is that there's not really many people who aren't making a transfer. It does seem like a lot of transfers are being made this game week. You know, we've got a total of 42% are making 2 or more transfers. So that's almost half are actively making multiple transfers. Even more if you count the wildcarders as well. So it's a big week for transfers, guys. We're going to try and help you out with what those transfers should be later on in the video. But I just want to go through the general trends in the overall FPL universe before we have a look at the experts trends. So I do like to do this every single video we do per week, and these are just the top 12 most transferred in players out of all players in FPL. So all 9 million plus players, who are the most popular transfers right now. And I like to do this so we can kind of see who the popular transfers in that our experts are kind of liking and which ones our experts are kind of ignoring. So you can kind of see if there are any potential traps in here that maybe you would have thought would be a good idea, but actually our experts really disagree. So, I mean, these are the players. So Robertson, Havertz, Saka, Salah, Kane, these are kind of the top players. We've got some interesting names a little bit lower down on the list, but certainly Robertson, Havertz, and maybe Saka, those are the big 3 players being brought in overall. Do our experts agree with any of these shouts? Well, kind of, actually. Robertson, Havertz, Salah, Cancelo, and Weghorst, all of those players are also being heavily transferred in by our experts. So, actually, some of the most popular transfers in the world kind of correlate quite nicely with the experts. So, you know, you guys know what you're talking about. You know, even if you're not an expert, you guys seem to know what you're talking about mostly. But overall, the perhaps more casual players, I think they might be making a few mistakes, because there are 4 players on here that I could kind of see immediately that I knew the experts weren't going to like, and there are no transfers in for any of these 4 players. Tony, Van Dijk, Antonio, and Son. So these are not being brought in by anyone. In fact, they're actively being sold as well by our experts. So these are definitely not the players you want to bring in at all. Tony, I mean, I don't know why anyone will bring in Tony. You know, he's got no double game weeks. He's playing Chelsea this week. He's not even got good fixtures after that. Van Dijk, I can kind of understand, but why would you go for Van Dijk when you've got a perfectly good Robertson right there? Antonio is just random. I mean, what is this, game week 3? You know, Antonio is yesterday's news, guys. We don't want to be bringing him in anymore. Even if you are desperate for a forward, Antonio is just not the answer. And I don't think too many people are going for Son either among, you know, experienced FPL players, because I think if you're going to go for a Spurs attacker at this point, it's going to be Kane really over Son, isn't it? That's what I would say anyway. But yeah, that's the trends in terms of the overall player base, and that's how it matches up, how it lines up with our experts as well. So Tony, Van Dijk, Antonio, Son, just avoid these guys, I guess. So here are the most popular transfers out among our 100 experts. So 85% are using a transfer. All of the rest are either rolling their transfer, not using their transfer, or using a wild card this week. So we can see that 85% are using the transfer. That's why it's out of 85. And I mean, you can see already that there are some really popular players. 2 players in particular that are really, really popular transfers out. Really popular transfers out. So Trent Alexander-Arnold and Jimenez, and you can kind of understand why, because they're both really popular players among good FPL players. However, both of them have got a bit of a problem. Now, Jimenez's problem is that he has got a 2-game suspension and then a blank after that. So we know Jimenez is not going to be playing for 3 game weeks. That's a long time for a player of Jimenez's 7.7 million price. So he's got to go if you've got him. Experts seem to think that anyway. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, 31% getting rid of him. So, I mean, considering, how many Trent owners do you think there are in the 100? Probably like, I don't know, maybe 90%. So you could say that almost, probably over a third of FPL experts are actually taking out Trent Alexander-Arnold from their team. And the reason for this is that his injury is just not looking good. It doesn't look like he's going to be available against Watford. That is looking completely out of the question at this point. Man City after that is looking very doubtful, and then even after that it's a game against Manchester United, I believe. So yeah, for the next 3 game weeks, again, just like Jimenez not being available for 3 game weeks, it seems like Trent for the next 3 game weeks is a doubt as well, particularly when you factor in those City and Manchester United games are not particularly good fixtures anyway. So I think people are kind of okay with taking out Trent. I do want to say on this, because I know a lot of people will be a little bit fearful, I guess, of taking out Trent, particularly if you're wanting to bring Trent back into your teams afterwards. What I would say is don't worry too much about team value at the end of the season. You know, as soon as you've kind of used your wild cards and maybe at least one of your free hits, team value doesn't really matter so much, particularly right at the end of the season. And there's so many bargain players anyway. I'm sure you guys have kind of sorted out your team value by now. I wouldn't worry about that one too much. So I wouldn't have that as a factor as to why you're selling, why you want to keep Trent. But basically, the situation is it's kind of up to you. Do you want to hold him through the injury? Do you think he's going to get better a little bit quicker? Are you happy to play him even in those more difficult games? Would you be wanting to bring him back in later, or would you actually be happy with a Robertson, for example, instead, or maybe you've got a Van Dijk or a Matip, and you don't actually really want to double up on the Liverpool defence anyway? There's some different options there. So, yeah, it is an option to take out Trent, but I'm not saying that he's absolutely what you should do. You kind of got to make that decision on your own, but some of our experts are taking him out. So, other players are Coutinho. He is a pretty popular transfer out. And aside from that, Wolves players, particularly Wolves defenders, really popular transfers out. You can see Saiss, 11 transfers out, Cody, 5 transfers out, Kilman and Aït-Nouri are both 3 transfers out apiece. So, Wolves defenders got to go as well, I suppose, but yeah. They are the players. There's a couple of other random players in there. I mean, Rafinha, a few people want to take him out. Ramsey, a few people taking out Son. As I said, not really a good transfer in, but potentially a transfer out. Ramsdale, because of his injury, we don't know how long he's going to be out for, but we feel like it's going to be a couple of weeks. Various players there. So these are the players being transferred out. Who is being transferred in? Well, the number 1 most transferred player in of Game Week 31, according to our FPL experts, is Wout Weghorst. It is time for the return of Weghorst to troll us again in these double game weeks. But, I mean, the problem is particularly if you're taking out someone like Jimenez or another forward, I mean, there's only so many options. At least with Weghorst, you get extra fixtures. He's got a double game week in 31, another double game week in 33, and there's possibly another double game week in 35 as well. So it really is double game week crazy for Burnley players right now. So for that reason, you can kind of understand, even if you're just looking to pick up 4 pointers in those double game weeks, you can kind of understand why people are going for Weghorst, even if he isn't, in a single game week, you're probably not going to back him too much. But for 6.4 million, you could do a lot worse. We've got Reece James as a really popular player. We know Reece James is training now, so that's very good. He's been in training this week, looking pretty positive. Full training as well, guys. It's not just a fitness training or anything like that. He's in full training, so we're hoping that Reece James is going to be back. Really popular transfer in. Cancelo there as well, another defender, and Robertson. You can see these, premium defenders. It seems like big at the back is potentially coming back with all of these premium defenders. People are wanting to bring those in. Other interesting shouts. Kai Havertz is there. if you fancy him. And a few people who did remove Salah for his blank last game week are looking to bring Salah back in. 6 transfers in. You've got Pope there, Gordon there. They've got double game weeks. And a couple of people going for Mount instead of Havertz as well, potentially because maybe some people think that maybe that Mount is a little bit more nailed on than Havertz potentially. I can kind of see that logic, to be fair. But those are the transfers in according to experts. And with all that data, I think we can start to suggest some potential transfer moves for you guys to make. Let's do that. So my first set of suggested transfers I think are pretty straightforward really, and that involves taking out Trent. If you are a FPL manager who does actually quite like the idea of removing Trent Alexander-Arnold from your team for whatever reason, these are the 3 most popular players to bring in, and they are Reece James, followed by Cancelo, followed by Robertson. Now, I don't actually know if this is necessarily the order from best to worst, because I would say the reason why James has been transferred in more heavily than Cancelo and Robertson is because Cancelo and Robertson are probably a little bit more heavily owned already. So, yeah, I mean, make of that what you will, but I do feel like, you know, you guys are probably going to have already at least one of James, Cancelo and Robertson. If you have none of those 3 players, you're probably in a little bit of trouble there, to be honest. But these 3 players, if you can get to 2 or 3 of James, Cancelo and Robertson, then that's going to be really good. And if you have to, you know, maybe take out Trent in order to do that, then that is an option for you. But guys, we're not going to be all talking about taking out Trent Alexander-Arnold. I have got some more suggestions for you in some slightly different areas. So first of all, really obvious one, Jimenez to Weghorst. There's not much point talking about that one. It's just one of those slam dunk transfers. It's so obvious to make. If you've got Jimenez, you are looking for a replacement. Weghorst is probably going to be the answer for you, particularly if you're looking to target the double game weeks. We've got Coutinho to Havertz, which is kind of an interesting one. Havertz just a little bit more expensive than Coutinho, but not so much that it's unaffordable. So that's maybe a move you can do. That's a pretty aggressive move if you fancy doing that one. And finally, I've put down here a Wolves defender. So, I don't know, Cody, Seiss, Kilman, whoever you've got in your squads at the moment. If you can somehow manage to afford to move a Wolves defender to Reece James, Cancelo or Robertson, and that might be tough for you depending on how much money you have in the bank. It might be tough, but if you can do that, I think that's going to be a really good move as well. And even if it takes a -4 to do something like that, because remember, a lot of our FPL 100 FPL experts, they are making multiple transfers this week. So I don't think it's a bad idea necessarily to make multiple transfers, particularly if you've got banked free transfers. Why not go for it? Bring in those premium defenders, and then there's some other options there for you elsewhere. But finally, we're going to finish off the video by talking about the most popular captains for this week. Who are the expert captain picks? Well, we're back on another one of those game weeks where it's kind of all about Salah, but not as much as it has been previously. I mean, we used to see Salah at kind of 85-90% captain pick rate, which is just insane. But now we are slightly down at 70% because a lot of people, 18% in fact, actually quite fancy Kane versus Newcastle. I don't know what exactly the factors are behind that. I would say that maybe Salah playing 120 minutes again for Egypt is probably putting people off Salah a little bit. But that Watford at home game is just absolutely crazy. But as an alternative to Salah, if you don't fancy Salah, Kane versus Newcastle is an option there. Although if I had to put my personal opinion in there, which I mean I'm not supposed to do in these videos, I know, but I kind of just feel like Newcastle are not as bad as people think they are. So I'm not fully convinced by Kane versus Newcastle, though saying that Kane is in fantastic form and you'd pretty much back him to score against anyone at the moment. We've got a couple of 2%ers here, guys. Havertz versus Brentford, a little bit of a cheeky differential there, and a Cancelo versus Burnley at 2%, another real differential for you guys. But those eagle-eyed amongst you perhaps would have noticed that these numbers do not add up to 100% because we have got a load of 1%ers. We saw this week a lot of FPL managers are actually going for a real differential captain, whether that's to chase mini leagues or just to try and give themselves a rank boost, or they're just not convinced by Salah or Kane and they just want to go for someone who they got a gut feeling. There's a lot of people doing that kind of thing this week, which is pretty mad. So I'm going to list you these 1% players that are picked by one each. I mean, these are not trends, so, these are pretty much random players, and I try to only use the trend data personally, and the non-trend data I pretty much ignore. But if you are interested in the 1%ers, here they are. We've got Richarlison for his double game week. Okay, whatever. We've got Robertson, Mount, Mane, De Bruyne, Saka, Reece James and Son. Each of those players are being captained by 1 out of our 100 FPL experts. they're a little bit crazy, particularly that Richarlison shout. That is interesting. I mean, maybe Richarlison gets a nice 4-pointer, double to 8. I mean, if Salah blanks, then that's going to look like a good score, to be fair. But there we go, guys. Those are the most popular captain picks among our experts. Once again, it's a case of, if in doubt, go for Salah. Kane is there as an option if you do like the look of that. But aside from that, guys, go crazy. I'm not going to recommend going crazy, but you can. You can. FPL's a fun game, right? Most of the time. And that is the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching today. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like on the video, it will be just massively appreciated. It really does help out the channel so much. The views are down a little bit at the moment. People are kind of disengaging with FPL, I think, at the moment, which is opportunities for us, guys, to be fair. I mean, if most people are disengaging with FPL, that means it gives us more opportunities to soar up the ranks, right, guys? So, yeah, do try and take that as a positive, but at the same time, I kind of want a few more views, whatever. Yeah, subscribe if you're new around here. Guys, we've got a team selection video tomorrow. I'm going to show you my transfer moves. And then on Friday, I don't actually know what kind of video I'm going to make yet. I just can't decide. So if you guys have got any suggestions or things that you really, really want to see on Friday's video, then please do let me know in the comments section. That would be massively appreciated. And, you know, I'll try and make the video that you guys want the most. And, yeah, that's how we'll do that one, I suppose. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching. And I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.